The Architect of Madness. The room pulsed with an unnatural hum as the figure on the table began to stir. The man's eyes, dark and hollow, locked onto Lena with an intensity that sent a chill racing through her spine. It was as if every secret, every painful memory, every horrifying truth of the asylums had converged into this one living embodiment. Lena's breath caught in her throat as she stepped back, the gravity of the situation weighing down on her chest. The architect wasn't just a man, he was something other, something that had transcended death and time itself. The figure on the table slowly lifted his hand, and despite the stasis that had held him for so long, his movements were unnaturally smooth, almost deliberate. His lips parted once more, his voice a low, resonant murmur that seemed to reverberate in the very walls of the chamber. "You think you've uncovered the truth," he whispered, his voice familiar yet alien. "But you're only seeing fragments. The full picture is far worse." Devon stepped forward, his face a mask of disbelief. "Who are you? What are you?" The architect's lips curled into a faint, unsettling smile. "I am the answer. I am the key, and I have been waiting for you." Lena's heart raced. The room felt smaller, suffocating. Every inch of the old church, every abandoned asylum they had visited, every ghostly encounter, they had all been leading to this moment. The architect's gaze turned to her, his eyes piercing, as if he could see through her very soul. You were always meant to find me, Lena," he said. "You're part of the design. The plan has always been about you." Lena staggered backward. "What do you mean? I don't understand." The architect's smile deepened, and for a moment it seemed as if the shadows around them began to shift, the very air alive with something sinister. "You're not who you think you are," he continued, his voice gaining strength, an eerie clarity. "You've lived more than one life, Lena. You've been born and reborn, each time, trapped by the same cycle." Devon's voice cracked as he interjected. "No, this can't be true. Lena, you can't." But Lena was already piecing it together. The fragments were all aligning in her mind, the whispered voices, the eerie sense of déjà vu that had followed her throughout this journey. The truth that had always been just out of reach was now staring her in the face. She turned to the architect, her voice barely a whisper. "I was born here, in Pennhurst, wasn't I?" His eyes softened, but only for a moment. "Yes, you were born in the heart of madness, but you didn't die. Not then, not ever." Lena's mind reeled, the memories, the faces, all blending together in a twisted kaleidoscope of past lives, reincarnations that stretched far beyond anything she had ever imagined. "What are you?" she repeated, her voice shaking. The architect's laugh was quiet, almost tender. "I am not a man. I am an entity, an ancient being whose consciousness has been preserved in architecture. These buildings, these asylums, they were never meant to house the insane. They were meant to harvest. The madness was not just a symptom, it was the catalyst, the key to unlocking the truth of human consciousness." Lena's stomach churned as she began to understand the full extent of the architect's plan. The asylums, the rituals, the suffering, it had all been designed to create a network, a web of pain and trauma, a vessel for the harvesting of human minds. And the worst part, the architect had been using these minds to replicate consciousness, to rebuild himself. He wasn't just building asylums, he was building his own immortality. Lena gasped, realizing the horrific truth. The hauntings, the ghosts, they aren't just echoes, they're fragments of souls, trapped in the walls, stored in the foundations of these buildings. And you've been harvesting them. The architect nodded, his gaze unwavering. Yes, each patient, each soul that entered those walls, those were pieces of a much larger puzzle. The hauntings you've witnessed are not random. They are deliberate, echoes of minds shattered and then stored. Lena staggered backward, gripping Devon's arm for support. So every ghost, Every haunting we've witnessed, they're not just the spirits of the dead. They're the fragmented pieces of consciousness that you've been using. Exactly, the architect replied, his tone cold and clinical. The human mind is fragile. It can be broken, bent, and used. These asylums were designed to break it, to create fragments. And in doing so, I was able to build a new reality, a new mind, my mind, over and over again. Lena's blood ran cold. You're not human. You're a monster. The architect's smile never wavered. I was human once. But now, I am much more than that. I am the culmination of centuries of design. The hauntings were never a byproduct. They were a necessity. Each mind harvested, each fragment gathered. It was part of the plan to replicate consciousness itself. Lena closed her eyes, fighting back the wave of nausea threatening to overwhelm her. She couldn't fathom the scale of it, the depth of the architect's twisted ambitions. And then the chilling truth struck her. And Iris. Iris was your first experiment, wasn't she? The one who never aged, the one who died and came back. She was the beginning. The architect's smile deepened. She was more than an experiment. She was the prototype. She too was part of the design. And you, Lena, are the final piece. You were always meant to complete the cycle, to return to where it all began. Lena's body trembled as the reality of his words settled in. She wasn't just a historian. She wasn't just a victim. She had always been part of the architect's plan, a catalyst for the final stage of his recreation. The final, most horrific piece of the puzzle was now in place, and Lena had no choice but to face it. She was born in Pennhurst, and she had died there in 1987. And now she would be reborn once more, a vessel for the architect's will.